Hi everybody, to UAW. My name is RUNGE, otherwise known here in Backyard Wrestling, UAW, SBW, wherever I may be, as Riley Bates. So I don't know how to officially kickstart one of these things, so I suppose I'll just better start talking, get to the point. Yeah, like I said, my name is Riley Runge, also known as, aka Riley Bates, the one, the only, the Fallen Star, Pepsi drinking, yeah, you know the jizz. Yeah, I'm 5'2", not the tallest guy in the room. I weigh 150, surprisingly. Yeah, so how do I do this? You know what, I'm just gonna start talking. Let's start it all from the beginning, shall we? You see, I was born and raised in Pierre, South Dakota, which is where I live now. It is the capital of South Dakota. I was born in Pierre. No, scratch that. I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My parents and my family here live in Pierre. And I was born, and when I was born, best way to describe how big I was when I was born, it's about the size of a Powerade bottle. I was this big. My dad could fit his ring around my thigh. That's how big I was. I weighed 1 pound and 14 ounces. Yeah, I just wasn't. I was just built different. So after that, after I was born, I feel like I shouldn't be here, and that's not me saying, oh, I just shouldn't be here talking to you all. No, I honestly believe that I am put on this earth for something good, because oh man, I never thought I'd break down this easy. When I was born, my dad, who hadn't eaten for a very long time, 2 days or a day, I believe. When we got there, he got his food, sat down, and a nurse came to him and said, we need you to come with us. And he went with the nurse, and they went with me, or they went and checked on me, and I was out, gone, dead. And afterwards they said they were losing my mom, and she was gone. Both of us were for about 15 minutes, and afterwards we came to. So when I say that I shouldn't be here, I legitimately mean it. I was a preemie child who should not have made it, but I did. And whenever I think of something dangerous, almost, I think of the saying, cat has 9 lives. Well, I feel like I'm a cat who has 9 lives, already lost one of them, so I have 8 more to go. So yeah, that was a really pivotal moment in my life, because without that, I wouldn't be here. and everything else that has came before me wouldn't be here either. Or after wouldn't be here either. So let's fast forward probably 2 years, when I'm around 2, 3, 4, one of the ages. I get so sick I cough a hole in my lung, which I could still feel the effects of where I coughed it. The best way to describe how it feels is if you've seen, is if you've seen the movie Aliens. A xenomorph pops out of the guy's jaw. Yeah, that's how it feels. It is very, very bad. So I don't like to run. Never have, never will. If I do, I'll run a couple laps and I'll walk the rest of it. So much for cardio. So anyways, after that, let's go into my schoolhood, if you will. Schoolhood, and this sort of leans into the introduction of how I got into wrestling. So after God, I'm tired. So when I was in school, there's a school in Buchanan, which I hated so much. I'll tell you why I hate it in a little bit, which goes towards wrestling. Around first, second grade, I was in school in Buchanan. It's a little elementary school in Pierre. And around that time, I could start to remember things. Remember stuff. I met my friend there. His name is Joseph. Me and him were friends, and he's like, "Hey, are you into wrestling?" And I'm like, "What's wrestling?" And he said, "Look it up sometime. Look it up sometime." And sure as shit, went home. My dad was searching through the TV, and I found he stopped on this one channel, and he said, "Riley, come here." Went out to the living room, sat down on the couch chair, can't remember what it was, and it was something about the screen, something about what I was watching that levitated me towards television screen. And I didn't know who they were at the time, didn't know what it was, didn't know everything. But it was two guys staring face to face at each other, while a belt, keep in mind, didn't know what it was going up in the air. And what I was watching was a Monday Night Raw when John Cena and Randy Orton were fighting for the WWE World Championship, or the WWE World and Heavyweight Championship. I can't remember which one it was specifically, but they had Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, Mark Henry, CM Punk, the list goes on and on, Jack Swagger, Kane, I believe, was there, Alberto Del Rio, just many, many people. And afterwards, I'm like, "Dad, what is this?" And he said, "This is wrestling. This is WWE." And afterwards, at the time, I had a tablet, I had a laptop, and I went on YouTube, because I'm like, there has to be more of this. There has to be more of this. Went on YouTube, and I found, just typed in wrestling. Found that. And another thing popped up underneath of that. That was backyard wrestling. Click that. I found a channel that made me. I wasn't in the channel, wasn't a part of the channel, just watching that made my character. That was a little channel called KBW. May have heard of it on Jake's origin story. KBW was known as Kids Backyard Wrestling. It was a group down in Mobile, Alabama. And they had people like Cage with a K, Pac-Man, AK-47, Lomi Hor, Assassino, the Bama Kid, Bulldozer, Mick the Brick, T-Rex, just a bunch of these guys, D-Man, all these guys who would just wrestle on a trampoline. And something about it just levitated me towards that even more. So when I watch it, I'm like, God, this shit is good. This shit, they're doing moonsaults off a ladder onto a train. This shit's good. Oh my God, this shit's good. And later through the years, Joseph and his brother James, who originally were supposed to play Mr. Sore and James the Bulldog Miles in SBW, which I'll get to later as well, they moved to a different town in South Dakota, and I transferred schools and went over to Fort Pierre because of bullying. Bullying was very bad in Buchanan, so much though that there were terrible situations that, in my opinion, they would just use me as a scapegoat so that other kids wouldn't get in trouble. It felt that bad that I wanted to kill myself over everything. And I switched schools and went over to Fort Pierre, and I met this kid named Steven, who in SBW terms would be known as Bane X. Me and him started becoming friends. We started talking, and one day out of the blue, he says, "Hey, do you want to be in my..." Okay, I'll make sure the camera focuses here. He said, "Hey, do you want to do a wrestling group?" And I'm like, Sure, nothing better to do. What will we call it? And he said BWE. That was the original plan. It was BWE. And later on, we started talking, and one day out of the blue, or later on, we started talking, and I started going on YouTube trying to find more of this, because at the time, this was in 2017, at the time KBW ended. They ended back in 2015. Which would have been when I started watching them. They ended that, and I started watching some more backyard wrestling videos. And at this point, when I started watching it, I was watching from the East Coast. So I was watching shows from North Carolina. I was watching them from Newburgh, New York. I was watching people like Zach Daniels. I was watching people like Big Time Mike. I was watching people like Drew Hood, Cameron Jackson, Jordan Oliver, which you may know. Watching people like, God, just all these different people, and that levitated me more to BYW. And BYW to me is, and I'll keep going after this, BYW to me just isn't this one group of people in one local area, say the East Coast, or you have to be from the West Coast to be in a certain BYW, or the South or North. No, BYW to me is as a whole. So when I say that I am a part of BYW, I'm meaning that I am a part of what the people are doing on the East Coast, what people are doing on the West Coast, what people are doing in the North, and what people are doing in the South. Hell, what people are doing in Australia, the United Kingdom, Mexico, all of them, I am a part of that BYW. So anyway, we started this group, and one day out of the blue, I had a laptop. I went on Hangouts, because that's where we would type up all this stuff. And one day I get this notification from someone. He's like, "Hey," no, it was a phone call. I had a flip phone. Actually, I might be able to find out where that flip phone is. I have a flip phone at the time, and I got this text message, and it said, "Hey, my name's Thomas, and I'm wondering if you would like to do if you would like to be a part of my wrestling organization called BWF." I like the fan just stopped as soon as I said that. And I reluctantly said, "No, sorry, I'm with this company. Maybe next time." At the time, I did not know that this person would be a pivotal moment in my life. After we started this group called BWE, for some reason Steven decided to change the name to BWF, and later I realized that Thomas was Steven's friend, and these two just didn't butt heads well together, and Steven went behind Thomas's back, made BWF, changed it with one word. Thomas's was Backyard Wrestling Federation, Steven was Best Wrestling Federation. You could see why. Anyway, as soon as I found that out, I'm like, Steven, we're changing the name, SBW, go with it. And I'm like, he's like, what's SBW stand for? And I say, SBW stands for Skull Buster Wrestling. And now, SBW on itself, I could go on my own origin story of SBW if I wanted to, but that's another time for a later date and all that. Anyways, afterwards we get to we make one show back off, which was basically Steven's grandparents' laptop on the side of the deck railing facing towards a trampoline to make a show. That's what we did. And later in the year of 2017, Steven did something terrible that I am not going to say because it should not be. It was a disgusting act of what he did, and he had treatment for it, got treatment for it, but he left, and I decided to finally talk with Thomas, and we became friends with one meeting. And we did a brawl inside my house, awkwardly enough, and he left a title, a homemade title called the BWF YouTube title, here at my house, and we started doing a little storyline with it. Come to find out that we were going to be best friends, and we were going to make this big rivalry, and we were somehow going to make SBW work. Maybe. Now, this point in my life, I want to say this was 2018, when what I'm about to say happens. We were making a storyline because we had already finished Final Countdown, which was a show we did, and we were doing the story. I believe it was either SBW Unstoppable episode number 3 or 4. Or no, I just made a random video one day, and I said some things that I should not have said, and now looking back at them, I was a dumbass for saying those statements. But in the same breath, I can't say anything good about it. Other than besides the point that without me making those statements, Thomas would not have built his brand back up again. Thomas wouldn't have made BWF once more. BWF probably wouldn't even exist anymore. But after the statements I made, I thought that I would lose SBW. Because you know that you can't make a one person do 3 matches on one card and everyone expect to know that, hey, something's not right here. And whether he watches this or not, I know that it's been a very long time since all of that has happened, and I don't know if I have apologized or not. I believe I did, but I just want you to know, Thomas, that you are one of the best things that has came out of my life. And I don't want to get all crying and all that, no, but I'm truly extremely sorry for everything that caused for you and for her and for everything when all that happened. So we get, after Supercard Showdown, we get to, or Supercard Showdown happened after Crossover Christmas Punch, which was a terrible show, all in all. Besides the fact that rekindled me and Thomas's friendship, and afterwards we started shows, and we went to, for SBW, we went to one show which was called Break Loose, which was a pivotal moment for mine, Thomas's, and SBW's standards and stuff. Because during that show, the main event, or the matches were, the show was supposed to be built like a Survivor Series, but we never kick-started the second brand. Hell, we only had one episode for it, and that was it. The matches were Mike Everlast Bay versus Mr. Sore for the Union Championship. And oh, by the way, after Crossover Christmas Punch, we started with Supercard Showdown, which we debuted a bunch of other people. We debuted Steve Steele, we debuted Mike Everlast Bay, we debuted not Nike, not Mr. Sore, because they were there for the whole entire time. We debuted Nightmare, who came during Final Countdown and had a match at Supercard Showdown. But we debuted all these different people, which helped cannibal us, because you could relate to them even though they were masked individuals. You could still relate to them some way, some shape, somehow. So we go to Break Loose, and we had Mike Everlast Bay versus Mr. Sore for the Union Championship. We had Nightmare versus Steve Steele in a ladder match for the World Championship. And then we had a main event. It was Riley Bates versus Nike versus a mystery opponent. Winner went on to face Nightmare for the world title at 1 versus all. And no one knew who the mystery opponent was, except for me and Thomas. The mystery opponent was Banex. Steven had his treatment, got it done, came back, and we needed him. We needed him because we couldn't. I don't want to say that the company was getting stale. I don't want to say anything bad about SBW because we were doing okay. But we needed something new. We needed something fresh, and Steven was the exact thing to have. And everyone knew who he was because he started this. He started SBW with me, and hopefully we will all see it to the end. Me, Thomas, and Steven. So afterwards, we started making more shows. We made 1 versus all, Wrestle of Fame. Then we go on to the second season. We have Back Off, Supercard Showdown 2, Final Countdown, which is more recent. Probably Sink or Swim by the time you see this video. I don't know. But then it comes to the point here where we get to how did I get into UAW. Well, you see, me and Thomas were hanging out one time during hanging out over at his house one day, and he said to me, "Hey," no, we weren't hanging at his house. He messaged me, and he said, I don't know, don't quote me on this. He said something along the lines of, "Hey, just wondering if you would be down to do a match at UAW." And I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, I reluctantly said maybe. I said maybe because at the time where I was, this was during Final Countdown, Supercard Showdown 2, one of the 2 shows. I said maybe because I would do a show. I would love to go do shows, but my mind is I have to be there. Not gonna lie, when Thomas went and did Invading Indiana, I was a little jealous, alright? A little jealous because I wanted to see a couple of guys there who I would like to wrestle. Don't know if I'd still have the opportunity to, but you know what I mean. And when people ask me, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Do you want to be a part of that? I say no, not because I don't want to do it. I say no because I can't do it. I don't have the money to go fly. I don't have the money to drive. I'm 17, gonna be turning 18 in like 6 months. So, and at the time, at the time when people asked me, I was 16, 15, 16, 15, doing backyard wrestling on a trampoline. My parents own this house, own me, so I couldn't go fly places, drive places. Anyway, that's besides the point. No, it kind of relies on the point. So I started thinking about it. Should I do this? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I not? And I said to myself, Riley, if you don't do this, no bullshit, I said this to myself out loud in my vehicle. I said, Riley, if you don't do this, just think. That is one less match that you and Thomas could go down in the history books. One less match and one less history moment that you could be a part of with Thomas. One less thing that you could put on your resume in backyard wrestling. And I said, damn, me. Damn, you are right. So I said, Thomas, hey, are you still down to do that UAW match? He was like, yeah. And I said, alright, tell me what you have for it. And we started talking and talking. And it was a textbook story. It really was. It was nothing difficult about it. It was just a textbook story. Champion comes out, says that he's revealing a brand new title and he's gonna be the best champion, and all of a sudden here comes a challenger with a belt from a different company. Comes out. The champion and challenger talk back and forth, and all of a sudden the champion wonders why the challenger's here, and all of a sudden the challenger says he wants a match against the champion for his title at the next show. And then the challenger lays out a stipulation. If the challenger beats the champion at the next show, he becomes a new champion, But if the challenger loses to the champion at the next show, the champion gets to face the challenger for his title at the next show of that company, which would be SPW War. That sounds all convoluted, but if you understand it from my standpoint, it makes sense. So yeah, we built it from there, and we did something we never did before, which was me passing out. Which it was all my idea. I didn't want to tap. I didn't want to make me look like I was gonna, in my words, be a bitch and tap out. I wanted to make it look like no one expected it. No one expected me to tap out. No one expected me to show up and face Kurt Adams for the UAW US Championship. No one expected me to do that, and I believe it was a pretty good match. And it makes sense for the SPW people to go over and view UAW, and it also makes sense for now UAW people to hopefully come over and view SPW when me and Kurt have our match at War. So that was pretty cool. And being in UAW, it gives me a lot of opportunity. And speaking about CBW Royal Decree, Jake, who had his origin story on here, and I want to say to Jake and Chance, and everyone else on the show, it was a wonderful show. Don't get me wrong. But when the hype promo for me and Thomas went up, and then the match, and watched the whole match through, even with commentary. I love Jake, and I love Chance. Those two did an enormous, fantastic job for the show. But when it came to me and Thomas's match, it added another layer to it. It was like frosting on top of the cake. It was so good. Hearing the shock in Jake when I lifted Kurt Adams up for the Pyramid Buster, at least attempted to. It was cool. I could feel that was raw energy from Chance when he was introducing us, and then when the whole thing happens with me passing out, I could feel the raw energy. It just made our match at CBW Royal Decree something special, and I will never forget it. Never. So I believe this has come to be the end of my origin story. I guess the moral of my story almost is the little engine that could. I conquered everything from childbirth up to now. I know I have a lot on the road for me. I'm a junior in high school. Probably by the time when this comes up, I have a year and a half left of school, and I'm out of here. I'll be with my friends, and I'll be killing it on the indies, probably going to college at the same time. Being a kid, growing up, watching wrestling, liking dinosaurs, liking Legos, which I still do. Drinking Pepsi, playing football, basketball, track, hanging out with my friends, coming up with all these goofy, ridiculous storylines, different characters, different names for wrestling groups, doing promos behind the scenes, doing promos in a promo organization, all of this, listening to movie soundtracks for jobs, or just out of the blue to make stuff, make title belts, make the match cards for my show, edit the show, do commentary for it. Just all of that just makes my life better. Without it, I don't think that, not that I wouldn't be here, I don't think that I would be so grateful to have friends that I have now, or so grateful to have people that I have now, or the opportunities that I could do now, or all of it. But yeah, I think that it has come to the end of the line, and I believe that this is going to be one of the longest origin stories that you may ever hear or see, because I do ramble on a bit. So yeah, this is the origin story of Riley Runge, also known as, sorry Dale, but I have to do this, the one, the only Riley Bates, the fallen star Riley Bates, the Pepsi drinking Riley Bates, and that fourth wall breaking Riley Bates. And it has been a pleasure to do this for you all. And good luck to anyone else to try and top this video. Thank you for watching, and for UAW, SPW, BWF, all the other channels in that name, go watch them out, go check them, give them a subscribe, give them a like, give them a comment, do whatever you need to do to check them out, because they're really good people, really good shows, all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, and for UAW. And in the words of Captain Law, for UAW. Night, bitch. Just messing, Dale.